By popular demand, today we're analyzing a very unconventionally attractive and polarizing face to highlight the importance of overall facial harmony, instead of simply having top-tier features. A few things first, we're almost at 100k and we will be doing a proper giveaway. This is a mini episode, but there will be more episodes this week. And lastly, the Coos facial report service will be launching once the 100k video comes out later this week. So here we have one of my favorite actors and one of the most unique faces in current media, Cillian Murphy. I'm on the side that considers him to be conventionally handsome, but there are others who don't like his face and consider it frog-like. In Defining Beauty episode 2, I talked at length about the importance of the eye area, and Cillian is a grade A example of how a dissonant eye area can affect the entire face. But before we can talk about the eyes, we have to work our way up from the bottom. He has an incredibly wide face and it's quite blocky too. There's nothing wrong with that, and research does show that that's ideal in men. His bigonial width is, as you'd expect, also well above average and is almost 1-to-1 with his bizygomatic width. In Facial Aesthetics, recommendations by Naini et al. 2008, this jaw width should be 70% of the cheekbone width. In most men, this creates a tapering effect and makes the face appear longer vertically, which is unideal. On Cillian, however, this lack of verticality compresses his lower third into a smaller, wider area, meaning that a larger proportion of his face is just all jaw. What I mean by this can be best seen from a frontal view, where it's clear his jaw has a lower inclination, more perpendicular gonial angle, and a longer mandible length. This makes him seem hypermasculine and is a turnoff to a proportion of the population because he sits so far from average on the sexual dimorphism scale by lower third proportion alone. If we follow the jaw guidelines created by Mommertz 2016, his face does not fall into proportion, especially his eyes, which don't meet up with a line drawn parallel to the jaw. Essentially what this is saying is that to be proportionate, Cillian's eyes need to be wider. This is interesting because visually it's not something you'd be able to pinpoint, but you get that feeling that there's something off about his face, even if ever so slightly. Or maybe it's just me. So by now we've established he has a strong jaw. The issue is the rest of his face is very feminine, which gives him his polarizing look. He has incredibly high set and prominent cheekbones, which makes his face appear more gaunt than it already is. Pair that with a large distance between the gonion and zygoma and a wide bigonial length, and you get his characteristically hollow cheeks. In fact, he has the same hollow cheek look as most high fashion female models like Bella Hadid, which is why it adds to his contrasting look. The last and most defining feature of Cillian are his eyes, or more correctly his periocular region. Some find them buggy and protruded, and the main reason for that is because he has larger orbital rims than the average person with that kind of bone structure. This is a tricky concept, but essentially we can argue that his jaw is in the upper 10% of men. It's great, it's unique, and it's likely modeled here. The average person with this kind of bigonial width, jaw inclination, gonial angle, and defined cheekbones is modeling alongside the likes of Jordan Barrett. However, these models also have very deep-set, wide eyes with a prominent brow bone and low orbital size. Cillian Murphy is the exception to this group of exceptional men, being the complete opposite from the nose upward. He has a very large orbital opening, leading to larger and consequently rounded eyes. Pair that with his long eyelashes and middle-parted hair, and it becomes clearer why people have a love-hate relationship with his look. His features sit on both ends of the sexual dimorphism extremes. They're both incredibly feminine and incredibly masculine. It's a contrast that I've yet to see, and honestly no one else comes to mind. A lot of Cillian's appeal comes from his on-screen roles. Every video I touch a little bit about how looks influence the way people perceive you, and Cillian is a great example of it. In Batman Begins, Cillian looked quite unremarkable. His face had a lot of youthful facial fat and made his wide face look even wider, as if a bee had stung him or a botched plastic surgery had just taken place. You wouldn't trust this feminine pretty boy Cillian to have the same cunning and wisdom a war-hardened Tommy Shelby would have in Peaky Blinders. With age, Cillian lost a lot of that facial fat, exposing the dichotomy in his features. His lean features disarm you because you likely haven't seen someone like him before. His face has always had a lot of softness to it. Not softness as in soft tissue or fat, but in the abstract terms defined by David Kibb's metamorphosis. Tommy Shelby in the show doesn't have the same masculinity in both appearance and behavior as his brother Arthur Shelby. In fact, they look nothing alike, obviously the actors. For those of you who haven't watched the show, does Cillian seem like the brain or the brains of the operation? How can we tell, and why do we think like that? As the field of cognitive psychology would find it, we make perceptions of people by the way they present themselves and their facial features. If they look hypermasculine like Arthur, we correlate these features to be a result of greater testosterone and expect them to act aggressively accordingly. If they have feminine babyface features like John, the other brother, then we expect them to be more passive and neotenized. And if they have an ambiguous mix of both like Tommy, well, then they're the most dangerous because they're impossible to read. There's nothing wrong with not having the perfect set of everything. Most regularly attractive people, the type that you'd see on the street, have one striking feature and the remainder are quite plain. The more polarizing your features are, the more infatuated your admirers are to your look. So maybe it's not a bad thing to be unconventionally attractive.